Hey, folks, welcome to the first episode of Jap's Expensive Paper live from the Long Box. Unfortunately, Bax couldn't be here today. He's indisposed, but in his place, we've got Paul Hallgren, um, creator of comics, and I'm just going to let him introduce himself because he can do it better than I can. Paul?
Hey Jay, great to be here. Too bad Bax is missing, but hopefully, I could fill in for him a little bit. But yeah, my name is Paul Hallgren. I'm from Minnesota in the Twin Cities. First and foremost, I'm a comic book collector, enthusiast, member of the Minnesota Comic Exchange, and in addition to that, over the last year, I've taken a little bit of an effort working with artist Jesse Switters. We've published our own comic book called Smarg through Snow Day Press and available at various comic shops, and just enjoying that part of the creator side of the journey, along with collecting and being an all-around comic enthusiast.
That's great. And you were a guest in one of our previous episodes where you talked about Smart. But for those of the Longbox Legion that didn't catch the episode, how do you go from comic book collector slash enthusiast to comic book like actual creator? Like you created a comic, and I've got two of them to show for it, which is great.
Yeah, so I think I'm like one of the many people who goes to college, takes English classes, um, gets a humanities degree, and doesn't really use it on a day to day basis. But had a lot of fun learning about it, reading stories and books and novels along the way. So something for me that's always been a form of escapism and fun has been comic books. Starting with when I was a kid at the library, grabbing early trade paperbacks, and then after college, finally, had a job and was able to buy some comics, and kind of just from there, enjoyed the hobby, read lots of ongoing stories, watched lots of YouTube videos to pick up on the stories that people are saying, like, these are classics, these are ones you need to read. So along that way, I kind of had a sense of the stories that I think are great, that I enjoyed reading. And during COVID, wanted to have some sort of creative outlet, and that's how I started writing scripts and got hooked up with Jesse.
Awesome, awesome. Now you mentioned that after college is when you started buying comics. So when you were a kid, did you collect at all, or was it more when you grew up and you kind of grew up into it?
Yeah, I had some comic books when I was a kid. I wasn't going to the grocery store and grabbing them off the rack at the checkout or off the newsstands, anything like that. Um, Instead, I would check them out from the library, things like that, and just random spots we'd pick around, like at a thrift store. If something was available for like 50 cents, I'd grab that. Or we'd go to swap meets, things like that around the Twin Cities, pick up books there. You'd find a random Spider-Man, some other fun stuff, and that's kind of how I got started with the first time getting exposed to the medium.
Awesome, awesome. And how do you think that changed your collecting habits from, or started them from, more checking them out from the library and grabbing them from the 50-cent bins to actually now having some financial power to buy some of those comics?
Well, first and foremost, you know, a kid of the '90s for sure. So the first comic trade paperback I read that really left a mark on me was The Death of Superman, which
Oh,
I read way before I was ready for it. And believe me, I'd watched enough cartoons and Superman, Spidey cartoons, X-Men, the original series, and it didn't register in my head that the hero would be able to lose, much less die.
hmm.
Um, so that that left a mark on me, just for the first time, is like how comics and the sacrifice and the emotion that I felt as a kid, reading the medium and then combining with like visualizing the pose on the page of Lois Lane holding Superman at the end of the story, uh, that had the emotional resonance that like comic books could have, that left a mark on me that way. And then just the style, the art of the 90s, of course,
Right.
is all its own. So that's what got me started.
Yeah, yeah. You mentioned, the resonance, and I remember for me, it was a Dead in the Family. I'm a little bit older than you, so I'm dating myself, but that's when I realized comics were more than just little pictures with words in book form, because it was the Joker was actually like with the Ayatollah Khomeini, in Iran and forming political alliances, and then like he killed Robin. Like this didn't happen before then. So that was that comic for me. Like yours was Superman Dead in the Family. It was just insane.
Jay, I gotta ask, did you cast a vote then?
I'm from Mexico, so we did not get the chance to vote.
Okay,
We did not get that. We
did you
knew
talk
about
about it
it.
with your friends? Like what did you want in this situation? I need to know.
It's different because we got the comics later on. Like they weren't coming out at the same time. So when I was collecting, I sometimes pick stuff from the newsstand, but a lot of it I actually grabbed from a friend of mine, and he had the trade paperback. So I just read the entire thing from beginning to end. It wasn't until years later that I found out that there was a voting, and in the voting, people got to decide whether Robin lived or die, which to me was even more mind blowing because it's
Yeah.
like, what is wrong with people? Why do they want him to die? Like, I get it. He's obnoxious. He's not Dick Grayson, but to want somebody to die, then that it sends chills down my spine still to this day.
To me, Jason Todd is like the Ben Riley of the DC universe, and that like he's just the character that deserves
Mhm.
better.
Yeah, and I think later on, they try to, do him good and retcon some of the stuff, and now he's Red Hood, and a lot of people like him. A lot of people like Red Hood, and I don't dislike him. He's not my favorite, Obviously, I prefer Nightwing, or even now Damien, because he's got a lot of attitude towards, the Bat Family, and he has that Ra's al Ghul blood in him from Talia, but I didn't dislike him, not enough to actually pick up a phone, call a number, and say he should die. Yeah, that's a little bit insane.
Yeah, I want to just meet somebody, pick their brain a little bit, who cast a vote of yes, kill Kid Robin.
Yeah,
I want to meet him.
yeah, I would too, because I wasn't around to do that voting, and it still boggles my mind. Like, couldn't you vote to write him out, or I don't know, something different. Dog the collector coach says he also prefers Nightwing. Dog, I'm with you, 100%, 100%. Um, and another comic that kind of had that same effect when I was a couple years older was ASM 361 when they
Mhm.
introduced Carnage, because he was the first villain that really had no motivation. I remember I read that comic in English, and yes, he was about to kill somebody, because he the symbiote gets like hard, like actual, unlike Venom, and he was about to poke him in the face or the eye or something. And then the guy's like, "Why are you doing this? Why are you trying to kill me?" And he says something like, "Because I can." And that's like,
Yeah,
there's
it's a
no
lot.
motivation, no world domination. Not I want to defeat Spider-Man. No, no, it's because I can. And that also was like, whoa, their comics are going into a whole different direction, from the campy stuff from the 60s and 70s. Like they started to get serious.
Yeah, that is one of my favorite books of all time, just because I'm so into the Carnage design. Like I know
Yes.
obviously it's like it's derivative of Venom, and Cletus Cassidy's just like a more like just lost to society version of any any symbiote host ever before and
Yeah.
after. But like that design, like just genius, 90s brilliance, and it's still the same.
Yeah, it's one of the few that doesn't change, because even Venom now, the white spider changes to signs a lot.
Hmm.
And depending on the medium, even in the video game, it's a completely different design, which looks cool, but it's still different. Yet Carnage, even in the movie, he looks like he was ripped off the page and put on the screen. It's too bad we didn't get a better movie, but at least he looked cool.
I was pretty amped when I saw Woody Harrelson was going to be Cletus Cassidy, and yeah, a little bit of a letdown, but I had fun with the Venom trilogy.
It's fun, it's a good popcorn movie to this day. I still enjoy them. Like if they're on TV, it's one that I will not flip and I'll watch. Or if I can put it on in the background, then it stays on absolutely. My only complaint with the last one was the whole dancing scene with Mrs. Chen. It's like, what's going on? What did I miss? What didn't I drink that I had to before coming into this movie? But
Ugh, I'm with you. My wife and I were at the theater watching that one, and I was pretty locked in to all of the third movie. And Null is one of my favorite villains. I am just, I fun quick aside on that. When I first got back into comic books in like 2014, I picked up the first print of Venom number 3 like off the stand at a comic shop, and was able to hold on to it in my collection and got it graded in like 2021, and
nice.
kept it nice, and it was 9.8. But anyway, like sort of starting back then and knowing about Null, he's just one of my favorites, big on the design. So I really needed more Null in that movie and a whole lot less dancing.
I thought we were gonna get more Null from some of the trailers, but I get it, and the whole Venom thing, symbiote from outer space, can be a bit tricky to portray on big screen.
Hmm.
So I get it, but yeah, like you, I'm like, he is like the symbiote king, kind of, sort of thing, whatever you want to call him. Like he is the one, and to just get him in that tiny, tiny, tiny speck of him in the movies was not great, but
Yeah, I'm into Andy Circus. We can, I'm down to have Gollum be Null. I just needed more of him.
yes, yes, it was a very. It's hard for not to know when Andy Serkis speaks. You know that voice right away.
Oh yeah,
So you talk about your favorite villain. Who's your favorite character?
it really waffles around for me. Kind of all over the place. So a couple years ago, I would have said Moon Knight because I was really loving the ongoing Moon Knight run then by Jed McKay.
Hmm.
Um, I think like a consistent one for me has always been Ben Riley Scarlet Spider. Again, I love that costume design, quintessential 90s. I grew up on Batman, grew up on Superman. At this very moment, um, it is probably Superman. I was quite into the movie that came out recently, and the a lot of the comic book tips of the hat, and seeing all the writers' names on street signs and things like that. It's just got me in the Superman spirit. So that's where I'm living right now. What about you?
Well, my favorite is Spider-Man and Batman. They were the two growing up. They were the ones I had the most books from. Absolutely. And I like Batman because he was a superhero without superpowers, just his intellect. And I like Spider-Man because not superpower wise, but otherwise, he was relatable. Like the problems that he has and being broke and talking to girls and that kind of thing. Like I could identify with some of that. So that's why I liked them. Like, and Doug here says that Moon Knight's his guy, and Doug, I know it. I know those your background when you go streaming, and it's great. So I don't want to flip around too much, but since we're on Moon Knight, what did you think of the Moon Knight TV show, the Disney Plus? Did you watch it?
Oh yeah, I watched it. I watched it right away. That was like right in the wheelhouse of like prime werewolf or prime Moon Knight reading comics for me too. I don't know, Doug, if you can tell, I got my own Werewolf by Night first appearance
Oh yeah.
right there behind me. I'm into the character. Um, I liked the series quite a bit. I think it was a little bit of a slow burn on introducing us to the personalities. And I'm a little bit bummed we didn't get, the tough guy Jake Loxley until the end. But
Yeah.
I'm into it. I would really like to see the MCU overall take like a kind of a supernatural Midnight Suns turn. With all the Mahershala Ali Blade stuff, I think they were really making an honest effort at that, but it hasn't materialized. And Moon Knight could be a part of that. I think Oscar Isaac is great, and I think he's compelling. I know people had their beefs with the show or whatever, but it was a solid B plus for me, watchable.
Yeah, I agree. It oh, Doc says he can see your book. Yeah, it is a beautiful book. It's not one that I own yet, but I know it's that look, man. It's great.
Yeah, this one's a 4 or 5. The low grade better than no grade. I was in need of having the first appearance in my collection, so maybe I'll upgrade someday. But for now, this one's good enough for me.
Yeah, as long as you have stuff in your collection, I subscribe to the new, not new, but the old adage of low grade is better than no grade. To me, sometimes it felt like that was settling at times. 'Cause you're not settling. That's the book you want. So until Brandon from On Comics, he said, I bought the book, not the grade, and
Yeah,
I can't agree with that more. I just got a Fantastic Four #3. It's a point .5. It's kind of beat. There's a page missing, but in the coming weeks, it's going to go up there and it's going to look beautiful because that's the book I need for what I want. And we also have Brian, LCS, stopping by. Say hi. Good evening, Brian. Good to see you. Um, but I think you're right with the MCU. What I like the MCU about the MCU the most is one of the things I also dislike the MCU about most is that everything has to be connected. And I think they can do without that. If we're
hmm
talking about Werewolf by Night, that was a great special. And it doesn't connect to anything else. And it's great that they have a cliffhanger at the end, if you want to call it that, when Man Thing shows up. But that was great on its own, and I think it opens the door, especially with Elsa Bloodstone, for some of the Moon Knight and some of the other supernatural characters that we talk about. But you don't have to connect everything right from the start and do end credit scenes and do all that for these things to connect. And then when they don't connect, like, what happened?
right. So I really liked that one-off special as well, the Werewolf by Night one.
Hmm.
And even though the setting would be completely different, I know they have the Punisher special in the works
It's
with
coming.
John. Yeah, with John Bernthal coming back. I'm pretty hyped for that, especially to give John Bernthal the lead to do the Punisher again the way he wants it. I loved that Netflix series, and I think his adaptation's really good.
And he is now the Punisher, just
Yeah,
like Chris Evans is Captain America. He is the Punisher. Like, I can't see nobody else playing the Punisher right at this second. He's so good, and just you really buy into that PTSD and why he does what he does.
I was a fan of the Bear. Pretty, I was into it, but like I couldn't stop thinking of John Bernthal in that show. It's like the
Yes,
Punisher is they gonna take out a big gun here in a second. Like what's gonna happen next?
yes, yes. Doc, totally agree. If we don't get more werewolf and men thing, we're gonna riot. I think between Paul and you definitely can lead the charge there.
Yeah, can we
Um,
like talk about the money in it for a second? I feel like horror comics are doing pretty well right now,
yeah,
and
yeah,
like to lean into that side of the MCU too, I think that could have some legs and it'd be different and feel fresh in a way that superhero movies or whatever haven't in maybe a little while.
yeah, absolutely. And even in comics, not just the independent stuff, like Mark Spears' Monsters is pretty popular right now.
Hmm.
But they just had not long ago the Blood Hunt from Marvel, the Red Band. That
Yeah,
was a great series. and
Hmm.
it was horror and stuff, and there's a reason why it was a red band and like the regular audience book. So I think they need to cash in on that, and I think they need to bring back Moon Knight, bring back Man Thing, also Bloodstone, Werewolf by Night, all of these, and just do that supernatural thing.
Yeah.
um, Before we go too far down the rabbit hole, since we talk about one of your favorites, Moon Knight, let's talk about your other one, Superman. What are your thoughts on the movie? What did you think about it?
So again, like I really thought the way the movie tried to capture like the essence of Superman's humanity within the body of the Kryptonian powered by the yellow sun was really cool. And everybody knew going in that's what James Gunn was trying to do, and to me, it was executed really well. And then also just generally as a comic fan, um, seeing all the hat tips and homages to the Superman, like the Alex Rosses, and oh man, a Minnesotan Dan Jurgens had like a street named after him in that in on the ground level of Metropolis. Like that was really cool. So I like yeah, it I thought it was well constructed. There, we're it was a really large cast, and somehow it didn't feel too overcrowded for me. Um, So yeah, it worked. Not perfect by any means, but yeah, I'm going back for more DCU.
Yeah, I think the DCU is in safe hands with James Gunn at the helm, and I can't remember who the other co-lead is right now. I'm sorry, I apologize, but
I think Peter Safran is there, like the
Saffron. Yeah, you're
business,
right.
yeah, the
Yep,
business CEO or
yep.
whatever the role is.
One's creative and one's like business. Yep.
Hmm.
So yeah, people don't hate me. Superman was never my favorite just because he was always too powerful for me, and too perfect. But seeing him like we're doing now, is I really dug it. Hey Doug, thanks for joining. Have a great night as well. Um, it really captured the essence of what he felt, or what you think he would feel being an outsider. I'm I'm probably in a minority because I did not dislike Man of Steel from Snyderverse. I actually
Hmm.
enjoyed it just because I think that they present him in a good light, where not good light, but a different light, where he's growing up. He has all these powers. He hears everything. He can't control them. He sees, people's insides, and it's like that'd be freaky growing up. So I like that. But then again, when they lost me is when Pac just goes like, "Don't save me," like
Yeah.
that. That. And now to see him like this and still be, with Lex at the end, I wake up every morning, I put one foot in front of the
Mhm.
other, and that's what makes me human. And that's like, okay, that I can relate to some of that because he also got the crap out of him beaten quite a few times.
Yeah. I'm you and I are seeing eye to eye on that. I don't really have a problem with um, Man of Steel by any means. I think that is a very realistic way to tell a Superman story because
Hmm.
like here's a character, here's a guy who's been trying to fit in, but all of a sudden he not all of a sudden he has all this power and he can do whatever he wants and he feels like an outsider and there was so much backlash from comics people because it wasn't comic accurate. Superman would never kill. He could have saved he could have saved so many more people around Metropolis during the final fight. Like this isn't Superman, and I hear that to an extent. It's not necessarily a comic accurate Superman, but if you're making up generic hero with Superman powers, like these would be real conundrums I'd be going on in that character's head. So yeah, maybe
Hmm.
it wasn't like the most character accurate, Fortnite skin to slap on that idea of the character for people who are wanting like a comic Superman. But I don't know. I thought it was a valid story.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting, because it's that sometimes I think his most difficult battle is with his inner self because
Mhm.
he's human, but he's not. He's an alien, but he's the most human of them all in the sense that he wants to save everyone.
Right.
Doesn't matter, small guy, big guy, that's his thing. And that's another thing that I liked about this movie too. It's that he didn't have to do everything. Because at the end, when they're going to go to war and you see the kid again with the flag and he's about to plant it, you think, oh, here he comes to save the day. And
Yeah.
it's not him, it's the Justice Gang. So it's like, okay, he can rely on other people. He doesn't have to do everything. He can't.
Mhm.
So
Right.
I think that was very good on James Gunn. All
Yeah.
right.
And it establishes a need for more heroes in the universe too, because
Hmm.
Superman can't do everything.
Right. Exactly. We've talked about some movies. We talked about some of our favorites. But I hear you have some books for us that you want to showcase.
I got a few, so bear with me. Um, so first, speaking of the supernatural, a little bit. This is one of my favorites
Ooh,
in my collection. So this
First
is
Blade.
yeah. So First Blade. It was recently Marv Wolfman was doing a CGC signing,
Hmm.
and I was able to grab one from this. So yeah, it obviously again low grade, better than no grade, but Blade is one of my favorite. Had to pick that one up. And next one, um, we kind of bagged on him a little bit, but here it is. Here it is. So this is obviously Jason Todd becomes Red Hood. And
Uh-huh.
this particular book is a big deal to me personally, just because I went to a signing here locally where two of the creators on this, Doug Mankey and Tom Wynn,
Hmm.
were at. So I had asked them to slap their signatures on this thing, and it's been graded. Came back a 9.8, but it's kind of like whatever. I would have taken any grade on this thing
Hmm.
because these are two guys who are from where I'm from and like made it in
Yeah.
comics, which is a pretty cool thing. So there's a lot of like sentimental value for me in this book. Plus, I really like the Red Hood. Jason Todd is my favorite member of the Batman family, and I'm not ashamed to say it. Um, I think he has had a really rough time in in
He's
in the comics. And man, it'd be really cool to have like a nice you know some good stories for for Jason to get his due. I think I hear that Red Hood and the Outlaws is pretty good. That was out recently. I haven't read it, but I'm
I have
gonna
not read it.
try to check that out.
No, I have not read it. Do you play video games?
I do, yeah. Are you gonna talk about Gotham Knights?
That I was going to ask you what do you think about Red Hood and Jason Todd and Gotham Knight?
Love
Just the
it.
entire Arkham trilogy, right?
Yeah, yeah. I didn't play the Arkham Asylum stuff. I know he's like a villain in that one, whatever. But I played the Gotham Knights game. Did a playthrough on that with Jason, of course, and it was pretty cool. I like that there's like cutscenes and character development going on. In that one for that hits me in the story heart. I didn't do any other playthroughs. I got like partway through with Nightwing, my second favorite member there, but um, yeah, really, I enjoyed being able to play him in the video game. Did you
Nice,
play that
nice.
one?
Oh, I played all of them. I That one was one of the few that I was a completionist, and I had to get all the achievements and 100% all the games. So
Heck
yeah,
yeah.
I've lost so many hours in that game that my wife probably hates it, but she knew what she was marrying into.
Yeah, we all have to sacrifice somewhere.
Exactly. What else you got?
All right, I got one more. Um, so this one is the oldest book in my collection. This is Superman number 9.
Oh,
This
that's a 10 center, huh?
Yeah, it's a 1941. Obviously a very low grade, but there was a while back I was just surfing the bay, and there was an auction that was ending at an odd time of the day, and there weren't a lot of bids on this thing, and the seller had, I want to say it was a Superman number 5, a Superman number 9, and like a Superman, it was like low teens, like 11 or 12 or something like that. And the other two were higher grade than this one. So this one came in at the lowest number. Obviously, it's not like a key issue or anything, but for man to have like a World War II golden era age Superman, that's pretty neat. So I had to scoop that one up when I had a shot.
Yeah, and it presents beautifully. Those yellow covers really pop, especially
Yeah,
when they're in good shape and they're all not faded and discolored. I think it looks great. I really like it.
thank you. Yeah,
Is
appreciate it.
that your grail, would you say? Your biggest book in your collection?
I've got I've got one bigger book. I do have Journey into Mystery 83. So that one
Oh,
um that one was my grail for a long time. Saved up, um, grabbed it. You know, that one's in like a 2.5, nice low grade, but to have that one in my collection, like Thor is, I got most of that series from the Journey into Mystery through like 400, and just hunting down completionist on those, that run of Thor is a big deal for me.
is that the one that you're being the completionist, or do you have others or smaller runs that you're trying to complete in your collection?
That one's the big completionist run for me. I haven't been buying a ton of books for a while, just because I've been focusing a lot more energy on the creative side
Hmm.
of and writing comic books and teaming up with Jesse, and working on our projects. So in terms of like budgeting, getting product, and like putting funds toward that, that's been a bigger focus for me since you know probably like September of last year.
Yeah, that makes sense. Does writing a book and doing the creative and obviously having to do the business side as well, has that taken away or influenced your comic collecting habits in some sort other than not buying as often just because you don't even have the time to do it?
Yeah, other than cutting back on actual comics, one of the it hasn't really cut back on my reading at all, because I really think like one of the keys to being good at writing is also to read good writing.
Hmm.
So I'm making sure to go back and like read books out of my collection, that I have runs that I think are really good, have collected editions, trade paperbacks. I the Marvel Masterpieces recently published Daredevil Born Again,
Hmm.
for like $15. I'd never read that before, but like holy crap, like that was obviously one that was on my list, and being able to pick that up and read it. You know, Hell's Kitchen and Daredevil's Born Again setting is quite a bit different than Smarg,
Oh yeah,
the alien. But of
quite a
course,
bit different.
yeah, there's like storytelling structure and tricks I feel like I can take away from there, and just setting up a panel, and having it transition through to be like coherent storytelling. That, man, there's so much to learn from Frank Miller in that era.
Oh yeah, for sure. Between that and the Dark Knight, then there's that's Big Miller.
Hmm.
Before he forgot how to draw. Now some of the covers from today are, I don't want to say atrocious, but they are atrocious.
Yeah, I'm kind of like cut up about that in like a weird way, because it is really cool to see that, like, yeah, he's still getting work, and like people love Frank Miller, and like those are, at the end of the day, like I think they're kind of popular color covers, right?
They
Like
are
people,
they are popular.
yeah,
They have a very niche segment, and I get it because he is Frank Miller.
yeah, like it's cool. It's like it kind of seems like a situation where like everybody wins, right? Like
Hmm.
it's a weird looking cover, but Frank Miller is presumably collecting a nice check to, because he doesn't have to work. Marvel's selling some more covers, and then YouTubers get something to talk about. Like it's
Yeah. Hey,
yeah, it's great.
bring it, bring it. I'll talk about it all day. And to be fair, his style was never, it wasn't like super artistic but it was changing, like
Hmm.
evolving. If you look at the Dark Knight, some of the images in those books are very different than from what we were used to in that era. So I get it.
Yeah.
He's not, he has to be different, right? I don't know if he does it to be different or because that's his style, but he was always different, and that's good
Hmm.
for everyone because, like you said, he still makes what he loves to do.
Yeah,
We get stuff to talk about. He still earns a paycheck. People are happy because he keeps putting out content and they can keep reading and collecting. So I've nothing against that.
totally.
Good deal. At the beginning of the show, you mentioned the MCE.
Yeah,
What the
yeah.
heck is the MCE?
So the MCE is the acronym for the Minnesota Comic Exchange, and like Jag, maybe not everybody who tunes into your to your shows are from Minnesota, but the MCE is regional and even beyond that. If you're a fan of comic books, you can find the Minnesota Comic Exchange on Facebook, and really the whole point of the MCE is to meet comic fans like where they're at. Some people are into movies, some people are into comics, some people just want to read omnibus. They want to grab the hardcover omnibus, they want to read trade paperbacks, and they just want to hear what other people are reading or want to go to shows, all that good stuff. So I've been an admin in there for a few years, and that especially back during COVID for me, like that was a community that really helped maintain like some connectedness to society when we were so isolated, just to join up with fans of stuff that I was into. So I recommend that, just find us, check us out on Facebook. We do have our own shows a few times a year. We have one coming up on September 27th at Valley Creek Mall in Woodbury.
I'll be there. I love my comic book shows.
Yes.
Although now I think I spend 90% of the time talking to people, than doing hunting, which is great because
Yeah.
it's not always easy to jump on a live stream and start doing what we're doing. And when you have a bunch of people with mind-like interests, it's awesome.
Yeah, I can attest to seeing Jay at the shows. Like he'll Jay will roll in sometimes with Bex even, and like I'll see him like right after the show starts. He'll come around like usually I table there, and we'll catch up whatever, and then it'll be 3 hours later, 3.5, 4 hours later, and Jay's coming back around again. It's like, oh, you're still here. It's like, and it's some shows are big, some are not. Like I'm always surprised at how long you're around just talking to people.
Yeah, I just like to do the rounds, and we talk to Adam, Atomic Lunchbox. He
Yeah,
does pressing, and we love talking comics too. And he does some cleaning for me, and he did one that I sent for the Steranko signing. And I was telling him that I was mad because CGC returned it as 7.5, which that was a 7.5 that he cleaned and pressed, and I know he bumped it up, but still
yeah.
CGC did his thing. So the love and hate relationship with CGC, it's what are we gonna do? Like,
CGC is a fickle beast, man.
it is. But let me ask you this: have you done anything with PSA yet, or are you planning on dipping your toe in the water with them?
I've thought about it. Obviously, they're the authority on cards. So I watched YouTube. I was watching Bryce Comics today on YouTube, and he had some thoughts on PSA. I think he came out a bit harsher overall than I am, but he raised a good point how they have the same scale for the most part, but they don't have the 9.9 on there. Um, and granted, there aren't a lot of 9.9s in CGC in circulation, but from there in their description of the PSA 10, it doesn't necessarily need to be like that pristine, perfect copy, right? So it kind of seems like, arguably there's a differentiation in the grading scales. One thing, not being able to compare them all the way, and also it just seems a little bit odd for a grading company to have not have a 9.9 versus a 9.8, the near mint. I
Hmm.
don't know. I think sometimes competition can bring out the best in businesses. So if PSA shows up with their resources from the card world and like pushes CGC to always get better, you know, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I agree. I think competition is good because monopolies are not good for anyone except for the one that owns the monopoly.
Mhm.
Um, but I don't know what to think yet. I'd like to hold this lab in my hand. All I know is like you from watching some YouTube videos that are out there. The one thing that I don't like, and people say that it's not, it doesn't have to be the same label than CGC, but I just don't like the label.
I'm with
I
you.
I get it that it's like their cards and that's their brand identity, but it could be a little bit different. Some of the videos that I've watched, especially from the Comics Den. Shout out to the Comics Den. Uh, they sent in a bunch of books and they got them back. The slabs seem heavier, sturdier, which is good. But then they got one back and it came back a 4.5 restoration, and there's no indicator anywhere on the label, color wise, that there's restoration on it. Like you have to take out your magnifying glass and read the very fine print to find that it is restored. So that to me is like, okay, so if I find like a book on eBay and they don't post a picture right, something like that, without having that color differentiation, like how am I going to know? Like I'm going to have to go and look at every single
Mhm.
grader, note that it's out there, and even have to ask for more pictures, that kind of thing, which it's not, a deal breaker, but it creates more work than something that could have been easily solved, I think.
Yeah, it's a deterrent. And I think, just to be honest too, like their slab looks just kind of, it looks kind of empty right now. It's like they did like transfer over
Hmm.
the card slab, but like there's a proportionate amount of white space, which is a lot on a comic slab, right? It's just so much bigger.
Right, because you go from the card and you barely have space to put everything that they need to put in the card and that label.
Yeah.
But when you know, tenfold or more than that into a bigger label, that just looks empty and it just looks like it's red border and white background and that's it.
Hmm.
So,
I mean, I'm game for a red slab. I think that would, obviously, that would match. Like let's say you had a nice, good looking PSA like red color slab to go with your ASM 361. Like that would look
that.
sweet. That would look really cool. But
Mhm. We'll see. We'll see what happens with the game. We'll see if anyone at the show in September has one. It'd be interesting. I doubt it, but you never know. I've seen stranger things at the shows.
yeah, they'll get there eventually. Like, you see at the shows around the Twin Cities that you and I frequent. There's CBCS, there's CGC.
Hmm.
I dare say I've seen some PGX there at shows before. So PSA
I've
will be there at some point.
I've seen PGX and I stay away from it as far as I can.
Yep.
Um, but all right. Um, so let's talk about Smart. What's cooking? I know issue number 2 is out. We haven't been able to get in studio and talk about the creative process like we did for
Mm.
Smarg 1 with 2, but I also know 3 is coming. Any tidbits that you can share? You want to drop some hints?
Oh, of course. So I'll just drop it back. The books have been out for a little while. Just for those who aren't familiar with Smarg, alien superhero. It takes place in a far flung future on a distant planet. Um, Maybe some of you have heard of the Silurian hypothesis. Just the concept is that there was a ancient race of reptilian humanoids living on Earth, which is a theory I do not subscribe to, but I thought was fun. So I kind of made that situation the setting of Smarg, where Smarg is a superhero, just generally getting started in his story, where in the big inciting incident is a mad scientist raises one of these ancient reptilians, long dead species, clones them, brings them back from the dead, and that attracts the attention of some humans who at one time invaded the planet and are back to finish the job against this reptilian nemesis of theirs. So the first two issues, we see Smarg meet the reptilian, fights him in the first issue. Turns out might not be so bad. Second issue, he runs into the humans, and that really is where the fighting takes off. And in issue 3, which Jesse is working on the pencils right now, the script is fully baked. And tomorrow, if you check out paulhallgrencomics.com on Instagram, we're gonna drop the first of our variant covers by Jamie Coker. And in this issue, there will be more escalation in the fight between Smarg and the humans who've come back to kind of terrorize this planet. And is Smarg going to be up to the job to fend these folks off? Like, you'll just have to read and find out.
Yeah, it's great. For those on the live or that are catching this on the replay, if you want to get Smarg, you want to read it, let me know. I'll hook you up with some copies. I know a guy or two. Um, just hit me up on IG or drop a line here. It's a great story. The art by Jesse is great. It's a shame that he can't join us today, but just seeing him walk us through the creative process and how he came up with the images and the design concepts and how it worked with Paul and all that is great. And if you can read it, I encourage you to. I was able to get Brandon hooked on it. I
Yeah.
think he's probably about to read issue two. But hey, ask him. It's a great book.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. I think if nothing else, check it out for the art. See, like I'm a novice as a writer, but Jesse has been making money as an artist for quite a while. So there is a pro involved in the process, and yeah, I think like the goal of the art that Jesse came up with when we were kind of bouncing ideas back and forth for what we wanted is like we were feeling really nostalgic at the time for like the 80s look of comics, and Smarg I think like kind of captures that essence, while also having more of like the modern comic book storytelling style to it. So there's simultaneously, I think, a little something new, but something that feels familiar to those of us who've been reading books for a long time and want to grab old ones.
Yeah, for sure. The I think I said it, and in our first get together on YouTube, the art really took me back to when I was growing up, and that was great. There's no other way to put it, really. So
Yeah, Jesse flexes. We when I talked about it with him, and I mean, man, he said he ballparked an estimate that it's like 10 hours or so a page for part of his process for each one. We're doing 22 pages for a book, so like, man, that time investment is hard. So yeah, like thinking about the people who like we admire who make comic books, like a lot of time goes into it. It's a pretty cool thing.
it is, and there's a lot of things that you don't talk about or don't know about until you talk about them with somebody who knows the process. You guys, if you haven't seen that episode, go back into our videos, check it out because it's very interesting how it goes from Paul's brain with Jesse's help, then goes into paper with a lot of things happening in the background, trying to get a publisher, finding the right printer, everything else. It's good stuff. Good stuff. Definitely recommended.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm going to self plug our channel. Sorry, guys. Well, Paul, it's been great. I want to thank you for your time. It's been awesome to have you. It wouldn't be a Jab's expensive paper episode without me showing something, um, which I think is funny because it comes full circle. Paul actually won one of the giveaways we did for our 100 subscriber count. One of the books was Fantastic Four 81, which came straight out of my PC. I decided to give it away because I'm trying to finish the Fantastic Four Volume 1 run. And the sub hundreds, I'm only like 30 issues away, but of course, they're the big heavy hitters. 1, 5, the Ramatot 19, and everything in between. So it's going to take some time, but I think I can make it. But the reason that I upgraded that book is because I got this. It's a
Ooh.
Fantastic Four 81. It is a 7.5, so it's not a particular high grade. I don't think you're going to be able to see it, but I'm going to try, and it's not going to focus, is it? I don't know if you can read it, but it says Stanley File Copy.
Ooh, that's pretty great. Oh
That's
man.
that's why I upgraded it. It's supposed to be a key because it's when Crystal, Johnny's girlfriend, the Inhuman, joins the Fantastic Four because Sue's on maternity leave from Franklin. Um, but if you don't know what a file copy is, before the internet was invented, and if you're a reader of comic books, you'll sometimes be flipping through a page and there will be an event, or Ben Grimm will say something like, "Oh, yeah, when we beat Doctor Doom." And then in the panel, there would be a note that said CFF issue 81. Before the internet, where we could go online and see, oh, yeah, they beat Doctor Doom in this issue, they had file copies. So if Stanley was writing something and he needed a reference to see what had happened in that book, he would go and grab a file copy. I don't know if Stanley ever touched his book or if it was just in his office or in a big cabinet back at Marvel, not even in his, vicinity. But the fact that this was perhaps used by Stanley is what I think makes this book great. And that is how we're ending tonight's Live from the Long Box.
That was awesome.
Yeah, thank you. You showed some great books as well, and it's been a really great conversation, Paul. It's great to have you. Hopefully, we get to have you back sometime soon and
Yeah,
talk more comics and movies and video games and pop culture and nerd out some more.
anytime. Thanks for having me, Jay.
Thank you. Have a great night, everybody.